Hello, folks. Welcome back to Sustained Overruled. I'm your host, the anonymous attorney. All right, so Alex Murdaugh has been convicted, and apparently, jurors are very eager to speak. Okay, I'm particularly interested. It's because I don't often get the chance to speak to a trier of fact or finder of fact as to their mental processes or impressions post verdict or post trial. Let's get into this because I'm long winded. Let's see what they have to say.
James McDowell, Gwen Generette, and Amy Williams. Good morning to all of you.
Good morning.
Thank you for being here after an ordeal, a 6-week ordeal. You did your jury service, your civic duty. You're here this morning. How does it feel when you realize all of the attention? You knew it was a high-profile case. Did you understand how
That's
many people
what I'm
across the
wondering.
country watching this?
I'm like,
I don't think it ever really, hit
hold on.
that.
Were these folks? I mean, obviously, after the jury pronounces itself and the case has come to an end or it's concluded, they are allowed to talk to the media or even talk about the case to, their relatives, friends. And I'm wondering though, were they approached by journalists or yeah, probably. I don't think these folks I don't think these folks are out, going to news stations asking for interviews. They were probably approached because everybody else, like myself, want to know what on earth it was that convinced them that this guy murdered his wife and son.
It would be this big.
Yeah. How do you guys feel?
No, it was huge.
Same. Yeah, I didn't think it would be this big.
Oh, really?
When you
Yeah,
saw
it
the
was-
camera,
Yeah, but that's when I realized this
That's
is
a
big
huge
ordeal.
case.
Yeah.
What have people said
I
to you
mean,
just in the last
a
few
licensed
days?
attorney, a
It's a small
prominent
town.
licensed
People,
attorney,
do they
accused
realize,
of
oh, you
murdering
guys have
his
been on
wife
the
and
jury?
son. Of course,
Have you
that's
heard
big.
anything? What is the reaction you've heard?
So I think that, it kind of spread pretty quickly. So I think that a lot of my friends were very respectful. They didn't try to reach out. They didn't want to talk about the case because they knew I
Very
couldn't.
good.
So I think afterwards, as soon as the verdict came out, everybody was kind of
Right.
sending me messages like,
Right.
What's going on?
Yeah.
Yeah.
a lot has been made over the past few days about the speed with which you guys came back with that verdict. Take us inside the deliberation room. As I
I
understand
want to
it,
know.
not everyone initially thought he was guilty. Is that right?
Correct. That's correct.
Yeah,
Okay.
so throughout the case, a lot of people had talked about how we didn't have a notepad in the jury room, but we weren't able to have it in the courtroom, but we did have them in the jury room. So a lot
Okay.
of people would write down questions as we, went back during break. So I think that kind of made the deliberation a little bit more efficient. Everybody knew the questions they had. We were able to get through them quickly.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the case a little bit. Everybody wants to know what you think. What for you was the critical piece or pieces
Right.
of
What was
evidence,
it?
Amy, I'll ask you first, that made you feel confident that this guilty verdict was the right one?
Well, the witness testimony was very believable.
Okay.
And the kennel
Here's
video definitely
hold
played a
on.
major part, and his testimony.
Who did she
Yeah.
say?
Yeah.
Who?
The kennel video definitely played a major, and the kennel video definitely played a
Oh, I did not know what she was saying. Okay, the video. Okay. That's also apart from the video, I've been following this case long before Alec was charged, accused, okay, for murdering his wife and son. And based on what I knew about the case, I was more intrigued, or I was looking forward to hearing about cousin Eddie. But when the trial commenced, that actually changed. A few things changed my perception of the case. When Shelley took the stand, yeah. When Shelley took the stand, I was like, yeah, this is a wrap. Also, just because his alibi was falling apart, I don't even know if he had an alibi to begin with. He probably did not even have an alibi and he thought he did. But when Shelley took the stand, I was like, it's over. Because Shelley was very credible, and based on my impressions of her, I was of the opinion that Alec or his family had a very special place in her heart. And to me, it seemed as if she was having either an internal conflict or some struggle in putting this guy on the chopping block, which made her even more credible. And how do you explain that away? You cannot. That's why I was just so disappointed his attorneys would allow him to take the stand. I couldn't believe it. I'm saying this as, somebody that represents indigent defendants accused of committing crimes. I couldn't believe that they would allow this guy to take the stand. In no way am I saying that he would have been acquitted. In no way am I saying that I wanted him to be acquitted. I had no dog in the fight. Okay, I don't know the man. I don't know anything about South Carolina. I've never been to South Carolina. But I just couldn't believe. I'm trying to see the angle. Okay, I just cannot see the angle that the defense was playing. I cannot see their strategy. I don't get it. Okay, if anything, they're probably, or at least Alec is probably aiming at an ineffective assistance of counsel claim. That's the only angle that I can see. The only angle that I can see this from. Other than that, a lot of the things that the defense was doing did not make sense to me. Let me let these people talk, okay?
A major part, and his testimony.
Yeah.
Yes.
Murdaugh's testimony.
Yes.
What about when there was
Oh,
throughout
oh,
the
oh.
trial, there were a lot of witnesses saying that's him. That's
So
And his testimony.
hold on. So I do a lot of talking and I've not seen this before. I think when was this? When did this air? Probably today. I don't know. I was working. And this is what I'm saying. This is from a criminal defense point. Alex should not have taken that stand. There's no reason okay, folks, listen, lay people. The prosecution has the burden of proving its case beyond a reasonable doubt. Alec does not have to incriminate himself. He does not have to testify. He did not have to do that. As an attorney, he knew he did not have to do that. But in this instance, I hope he was not the attorney and he was the client. Because to me, that was very fatal. There were a lot of things that you just couldn't explain it away. If he didn't take the stand, questions would linger, okay? But because he took the stand, a lot of those questions or whatever holds it is that the prosecution had in its case were answered. So, let me let these folks talk though.
yeah.
Yes.
Murdaugh's testimony.
Yes.
What about when there was throughout the trial, there were a lot of witnesses saying that's him, that's his voice. When he got on the stand, Gwen, and said, yeah, that was me. What did you think? How did that strike you?
Well, first of all, I couldn't believe that he was taking the stand. And when he got on the stand, I was like, okay, so it was him. I don't know him, so I never,
You see, so I guess I'm not the only one, okay? Even regular people that don't practice could not believe it. Like, why would he take the stand? Who advised him to take the stand? Why is he going to waive his right against self-incrimination? Anyway, yes, you can tell I get very passionate about these things.
knew his voice, but I realized it was him. And in the Kennel video, that just kind of sealed the deal.
Do you think he should have taken the stand?
No,
What about you, Amy?
No.
He didn't help himself.
No.
no.
If I was him, I don't think I would have, but I think that he
But you don't want to be
believes
him.
that he's so convincing that
Yeah,
he felt like that
you don't
was
want to
his,
be him.
last resort.
The financial crimes, when the state introduced all of that evidence about the past financial crimes and the money he'd stolen from clients, the money he'd stolen from the firm as well, did that impact your decision at all? Did that make a difference?
Well, we could only consider it as part of the motive. It
No, so
helped
she
showing that he was very
follows
convincing
instructions.
and manipulative, and so
Okay.
it made sense.
Guess she was good
Let's
to have
talk
on
about
the
his
on
testimony
the
a little bit
jury.
more, because he was very emotional. People watching from the outside thought, maybe this will be compelling to jurors.
Nah.
Did you believe him? Did you believe his tears? Did you think he was crying? Some other jurors have said they didn't
Nah.
buy it. What, you're shaking your head.
No, I didn't think
Nah.
he was crying. He turned it on and off.
Mm.
Yeah.
It wasn't genuine.
Do you
Why
think
did
he
that guy
hurt
take the
himself by
stand?
taking the stand? Did he make it worse?
I think he did.
Yes.
Why?
Without a doubt.
I just think that, we already know that he's a lawyer. He's able to
Right.
be emotional with cases. He's able to be emotional with
Right.
himself. He knows, like what she said, when to turn it on and off.
He
So
did
I
a
think that he was
lot.
kind of able to read right through that.
After sitting there for several weeks, and again, the state didn't have to prove a motive.
Right.
Do either of you have any idea of perhaps why he did it?
They have no way of knowing
I don't
that.
know if we'll ever know. I
Right,
think
like,
it
what
may
kind
have
of
been a
question is that?
combination of things.
Yeah, what
Um,
kind of question
not
is
just
that?
the
She wasn't
financial,
there?
but everything was weighing heavy on him, I believe.
Gwen, what do you think?
And
I think it was he wanted to have control of everything, you know, and his wife owned the majority of the things that they owned. They had. So I'm thinking it was more like greed.
Jay?
Him
let
being
me
in
let me
control.
say
I think
this.
the prosecution had a very good point. It's a storm.
Yeah.
You know, at points in time, the defense would take one aspect and be like, you know, it couldn't have been this. And it
Yeah.
may not have been that one singular thing, but there's so many things there that contribute to that overall storm.
Let me say this, okay? This is a public service announcement. Understand addiction, okay? Addiction is very different from folks that use recreational drugs. And the thing is, when somebody uses drugs, I mean, if you use drugs and you're watching this, don't feel attacked. Okay? Don't feel attacked. Somebody that has an altered state of mind, I find such a person very hard to trust. You just never know what on earth they're going to do. You don't know what they're thinking. You don't know what their rationale is. So let's get back to this.
That, you know, I think it played a part.
They had you guys go and visit the scene, Moselle, this estate where the crimes took place. Was that worth your time? Was that worthwhile? Did you learn anything from that, James?
Yeah, I think that we were, you know, throughout the case, you kind of see pictures and stuff, but until you get out there, you're not able to really see how everything plays a part.
Right.
There were a few things that I made mental notes of that I wanted to check out if we did go out there, and I was able to, you know, take a
What
look
are
at
those?
What about you, Gwen?
Same here. I wanted to see how big that feed room was, and it was very tiny in person. And I also wanted to see if you could see down there to the feed room and kennels from the house, and you could.
Oh.
I know two of you went back the next day after the verdict. You went back for the sentencing. Why was it important for you, the two of you, to be there for that part of it?
Just to see it through to the end.
James?
Okay.
Just like what she said, you know, we spend 6 weeks there, we bond, we're a very close knit jury at that point in
No,
time.
they're like family.
So it was important for us to go back and kind of, you know, see it to the end. We had just decided what the verdict was going to be. We at least wanted to see it to the end, see what the sentencing would be.
Well, I
Okay.
mentioned that you did your civic duty. You're wearing your Constitution tie. It is a lot that we ask of our fellow citizens to sit in judgment of another. It's not easy. It's a great sacrifice
Right.
in every way. So thank you for being here and spending a little time with us in a case
Thank you
that's
for your
gotten a lot of
service.
interest. And thank you for your service.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right, hold on. Oh, look at you. Look at Al. All right, hold on. Let's do this. I want to watch.
So
We can
once
do
prominent
10 minutes.
attorney convicted of the double murder of his wife and son.
We're going to talk to the lead prosecutor in just a moment. First, Eva Pilgrim is at the courthouse in Walterboro, South Carolina. And Eva, you have an exclusive interview with one of the jurors.
What do they
That's
have
right,
to
George.
say?
George telling us what happened inside the deliberation room. Moments after that verdict was read, Alex Murdaugh turning back to his surviving son, mouthing, "I'm sorry, I love you." That once prominent attorney now convicted of murdering his wife and son.
Alex, did you kill your wife and son?
After 28 days, 75 witnesses, and less than
Long
3
time.
hours of deliberation, the jury finding Alex Murdaugh guilty of killing his wife Maggie and son Paul.
Guilty, 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 guilty.
Murdaugh appearing emotionless as the unanimous verdict was read. His
think he
surviving
was
son
just
Buster,
stoic.
who testified in support of his dad, putting his head in his hands. The defense asking for a mistrial, but the judge standing firm.
The jury has now considered the evidence for a significant period of time, and the evidence
All right,
of
come
guilt
on.
is overwhelming.
Can we move forward?
And, I deny the motion.
The disgraced attorney then taken
I
out of
thought-
the courtroom. Now, in an ABC News
Okay, there we
exclusive,
go.
juror Craig Moyer breaking his silence, revealing how the jury came to their decision.
When you
Okay,
first
come
got
on.
in the room, you took a vote.
It was 2 not guilty,
Oh,
1 not sure,
okay.
and 9 guilty.
Okay.
What was your vote
Guilty.
from the start?
Yes.
Moyer
Okay.
says it didn't take long to get everyone on the same page.
We started deliberating, going through the evidence. Everybody was pretty much talking. And
All right, come on.
about 45 minutes later, after all our deliberating, we figured it out.
So it
Okay.
took basically 45 minutes for you guys to come to a decision.
Probably about 45, maybe an hour.
That's really fast.
Yeah, that's quick.
The evidence was clear.
He says it was this piece of video
Yeah.
featuring Alex's voice at the crime scene moments before the murders that convinced him.
Hear his
So
voice
Paul-
clearly. And everybody else could too.
Alec finally admitting it was him for the first time a year and a half after the murders.
When he said it was him, were you surprised?
I was very surprised.
Right.
Why?
That was his only savior right there.
For some
Yeah.
people, it's so hard to understand how a husband, especially a
So,
father, would kill
Alec-
their own son.
No, not Alec, but Paul
What made you
essentially
so sure
solved
that he
his
had?
own
His responses,
murder.
how quick he was with the defense, and his lies, steady lies.
Did you feel like he was a liar?
A good liar,
I
but
don't think he was that
not
good.
good enough.
Moyer
Right.
also not convinced by moments like this.
Yeah, that was too much.
Alec appearing emotional on the stand.
What did you think
Yeah, that was
when
too
Alex
much.
Murdaugh took the stand?
I didn't think much of him,
Really?
really. I didn't see any true remorse or
His remorse
any
comes
compassion or
after,
anything.
you know,
Even though he cried a lot on the stand.
He never
conviction. Oh, he
He
didn't?
never cried. What do you mean by that?
cried. All he did was blow snot.
Did
Wait.
you not see tears?
No tears.
How did you know he wasn't crying?
Because I saw his eyes. I was this close to him.
Oh, well.
Moyer says he also didn't buy the defense's argument that Alec didn't have enough time to commit the crime and create an alibi.
The
Okay.
defense said there's no way he could have done all these things, clean everything up, get it all ready, and then go to his mom's and come back in that short amount of time.
I think there's just enough time.
All
mean-
those factors leading the jury to hand over that guilty
All right.
verdict.
If
Okay.
you really look at everything, it's all plain and clear.
Yeah.
And the judge delaying sentencing until this morning so that victims could make statements in court. And this morning, we will see Alex Murdaugh arriving to the courtroom in an orange jumpsuit.
Oh,
Guys,
this was
Okay, Eva,
3
thanks.
days ago. Okay, that was 3 days ago. I'm trying to decide if I'm going to watch the lengthy 30-minute video.
5:30.
5:30. Okay.
Yes.
What happened at 5:30?
Jury duty. James, first of all, what was your juror number?
5:30.
5:30. Okay.
Yes.
When you were first called up for jury duty, did you realize it was going to be this case?
So I wasn't positive, but we were given a questionnaire.
Okay.
So a lot of those questions kind of pertain to the case in some way. So I didn't know for certain, but I did think that it was going to be this case.
Mm.
When you finally got to court and you realized it was, what kind of were your thoughts?
I don't really think I had any thoughts. It was just
Right.
I was there to do my civic duty, and I really didn't think that I would be chosen. I had heard that there was like 900 some people
Oh my
that were given,
goodness.
the questionnaire and everything.
What,
So
do they
out
have
of
the whole
900, I
town?
didn't really think that I'd be chosen.
Was the Murdaugh case something that everybody talked about around here? Or
Yeah, I want to know that. Was it?
happened and I don't know what is
Oh, I'm so impatient.
I think that it was talked about
Okay.
a fair amount, but
That's crazy.
I actually work over in Charleston, and I've been up in Clemson at school, so I haven't really been in the area for like the past 4 years. So
And
it's
this is
something
what
you
you-
hear about, but it's not something that I have so many other things going on. It's not something that I dedicated a lot of my time talking about or paying
Yeah.
attention to.
You said you went to Clemson? Is
Yes.
that right? Oh, okay. So you graduated?
Yeah.
What are
Okay,
those
how soon
Clemson
after?
Tigers?
22.
Oh, okay. Oh my gosh. So you're around Paul Murdaugh's age.
That we knew that the questions that we had answers to. We just wanted to talk through them and make.
Okay.
And we took a vote at the
So-
end, and then we took a moment to gather ourselves. We wanted to make sure that everybody was.
I'm so
I
impatient.
know that I'd heard somebody say that was in the audience that we never looked, but I know that for me, I looked at the defense. I wanted to see what the reaction was.
Oh, hold on.
I wanted to watch and see to the witness. That casing was at the crime scene, so that's how you're able to place that gun at the crime scene and know that it's a family gun.
When you got out there and you
So throughout the entire trial, one of the things that I wanted to do, just because I felt like it would benefit me, is watch both sides,
Mm-hmm.
both the prosecution and the defense, and see what
Right.
their reactions were to certain things that were said. So
Right.
my eyes were constantly going from prosecution to defense to the witness.
Right.
I wanted to see everybody's reactions and how people were taking things, what
Right.
their responses were. So whenever we got out there to, express what our verdict was, I wanted to watch and see how the defense and the defendant reacted. So
Mm-hmm.
I know that I'd heard somebody say that was in the audience that we never looked, but I know that for me, I looked at the defense. I wanted to see what the reaction was.
What was their reaction?
I think that the only thing that stood out to me, and it wasn't shocking to me, but was that there was no reaction. It was just a straight face.
Yeah, he was stoic. So
How important was that to you? And
That every piece of evidence was critical. I've heard a lot about when was the point that you really felt like, you were going to sway one way or the other. And it was very important to me to not make that decision prematurely.
yeah,
So
he's a
I
good
would say that
juror.
I never made a decision until after both closing arguments.
He's a
After I
good
knew that I
juror.
had all the evidence, I felt confident making a decision, because
Okay.
I think that if you make a decision before you're able to see all the pieces of the puzzle,
Yeah,
that we didn't make.
it's a good thing they
I
had
found it
him.
very interesting, some of the things, and go home for the night. Last night we decided that we were going to ask everybody. If nobody wanted to talk, nobody had to. If people didn't want to come to the sentencing, they didn't have to. We were going to ask everybody. If nobody wanted to talk, nobody had to. If people didn't want to come to the sentencing, they didn't have to. But a lot of us did want to stand together. We wanted to go there. We wanted to finish this out as a group.
Okay.
I will say that all the jurors were very incredible people, and we all come from different walks of life. And we were able to, we prayed before we went in. We prayed before we came out to give the verdict. I would say
that Maggie was using the hose in the kennel video,
to make my decision. But whenever I'm at the end and I'm, thinking about all this evidence, there was parts that I noticed at the Moselle property that, were evident to me that solidified my answer of guilty.
Okay. What was that?
There was a lot of question about. So there was a lot of questioning about the second shot to Paul. And to me, the way that it was described and the way that it was portrayed, it just didn't look right.
Okay.
But what did make sense to me, and something that I'd made note of before we went to the Moselle property, because I didn't know that we were going to the Moselle property, but I was curious, is that, for one, I think that he would have been looking at Paul. And whenever we get out there, it's a very tight room. And there is about a 1 to 1.5 inch threshold at the base of that door.
That's crazy.
I think if he's looking at Paul and he's just shot a buckshot, which if you're not firm, it can rock you pretty good. I think he could have been unbalanced, and I think he could have tripped over that threshold, and that puts him on the ground shooting upward as Paul's coming out. And I think that makes sense to me for the angle of the shot.
Okay.
One more question. Is this okay in there? Okay. Why do you think he did it?
You don't know.
I don't think like that. I don't have the capability of thinking to be able to do something like that. So I don't think that I'd ever be able to answer why somebody would do something like that.
Like, what kind of
I think
question is that?
there is a lot of contributing factors that somebody could throw in, and we heard a lot throughout the trial, but I still think there's more that we haven't heard, and there still may be more that nobody knows about.
All right, folks. So that is it. If you enjoyed this video, come back for. I mean, I don't know if I'll be here, but come back for, another one of my reactions and unsolicited remarks. All right.